Hey, 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 and goodness to you. I say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening, but it's always good, isn't it? Isn't it good to be alive? It's good to be alive. Remember that song? No, that was Born. Born to be alive. Ooh, yeah, all right. Hey, look, welcome to Glue Wednesday. This is Sporty King coming at you in person on the broadcast. And man, I'm feeling good. My knee is doing well in the rehab for those of you who've been keeping up with it. Not that I've been posting a lot on it because I just believe in just go on and making it happen. And the thing is, it's an up and down battle. It's the big balance is to find out whether, a lot of times when you exercise, you tend to then swell up and then you can't exercise 2 days in a row. But I had to figure out how to balance that so that I can exercise 2 days in a row. And I got it. I think I got it. So we'll see. But I'm also finding that it comes from the knee actually getting better. And so the swelling is going down. And as the swelling goes down, then guess what? I can exercise another day. So anyway, I always get on 5 minutes before I start the broadcast. So we're starting at 1, and we've got less than 4 minutes for today's broadcast. I see some thumbs up, some hearts, some people put your name in the thread there, and I'll get it on screen. There we go. Hey, what's up? Hey, lightning is on. Awesome, my brother. Thank you for the glue. Man, that's one of my ministry brothers down there in Jacksonville, Florida. Daniel Lightning Jackson. All right. And then coming in from New York, Zet Thornton, best patient. right. And you know what, Zed is 2 times a patient. Patient as in the hospital patient, but also you got to be patient with yourself. That was a big lesson for me to learn to be patient with myself, because my therapist had to teach me what an increment was. Because when he said just do a little, well, a little to me could mean 5, but a little to him meant 2. And so that's the type of thing that you have to be willing and ready to do. All right. Okay. What's going on, Thomas? Long time, man. Keep it up. Life isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. Amen. And you got to recognize that it's definitely a race. You didn't miss that part at all. It's definitely a race, and you got to be in it to win it. You got to play the game. You can't play the game from the stands. You always hear me say that. So we got less than 3 minutes to go for today's broadcast. But if you're ever doing a live broadcast, by the way, I like to give speaking tips. That's one of your options that you have, is to come on early and let people say, oh, that's right, I want to listen to the broadcast. Not that anybody's going to miss anything because it's being taped, but at least that way, if you can be in there with the live experience, sometimes it's just a little bit more fun. And in these days of technology, that's what we have to do. One thing is we're trying to make technology more personal and personable. And in the process of doing that, one of the things you can do is try to be on live for different broadcasts and things. So thank you. In fact, there's the word we have to learn to shift. Instead of saying live, we have to say in person, because you're alive even if you're on the virtual screen, right? Play with words. We got less than 2 minutes for today's message. So thanks for coming on and getting on early. For those of you, if you're first time with Glue, a lot of times what people say with Wednesday, Wednesday is hump day. Why? Because old school rules. And we used to say in old school, we just think that you people work Monday to Friday and then there was the weekend. We never talked about flex time. It was not an expression, even though it does exist. It always has existed in hotels, restaurants, taxi cabs, etc. Right? So, but that's why somebody said Wednesday was hump day. You got over the hump in the middle of the week to get to Friday. But what about the people that work flex time? What about the people who work Thursday to Tuesday? See, so that was not really the middle for them. Wednesday was not the middle for them. So I say Wednesday is the middle of a traditional 7-day week, regardless of when you work. So therefore, Wednesday is the day that keeps the week beginning and the week end together. And so it puts us into a prayerful mode. And that's why I say it's the glue. And the glue is GLUE. God's love undoes everything. Not that it will tear it apart, but that whatever is torn apart, God's love will bring it back together. Because we don't need to focus on humping and getting over, which is the connotation from hump. I need to get over. What we need to do is focus on keeping it together. And it's 1 o'clock. Let's go on and talk about keeping it together. And so that's what my broadcast is about today. And it's always about glue, keeping it together. How can we? Well, like I say, I won't try to be clinical or judgmental. Look, oh, see, I gotta put that comment in there. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You got to throw that in. But anyway, I won't try to be clinical or judgmental, but inspirational as I talk about the fact that rejection is actually a component of mental health. Some see, and the reason I chose this topic because we have all of these specialty months throughout the year. This is I believe this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and then you got Cancer Awareness Month, and then you got Black History Month and Mental Health Month and Suicide Prevention. These are months, but y'all, please remember that these are not the only time you should be aware of these things or celebrate them or support them. They are what that word is, awareness, to remind you that this is going on throughout the year and throughout the life, not just this month. So mental health awareness month, I don't even remember when it is, but that's the whole point. It's 365, 24/7. You have to be concerned with your mental health. And there's different, sometimes the more we know about it, what we have to look at, sometimes we think of mental health, oh, somebody's got to be crazy or they need therapy. No, and I want to say to you that just being rejected, that's what I'm going to show you today. Just being rejected is a component of mental health awareness, as well as state that there's no easy fix for the choice to let it linger and feed depression. Because see, sometimes, that rejection will just sit there and it will feed your depression. So it's not an easy fix. So what I can say clinically is that is actually psychological in reassuring you and assuring you that no emotion is invalid. No emotion is invalid. No one should tell you that you should not have feelings of sadness, anger, pain, loneliness, abandonment, etc. No emotion is invalid. Excuse me. The only hope should be that you meet these feelings for what you recognize them to be. They are diversions from the path that you prefer to stay on. And because it's a path, just like you said, Thomas, life is a marathon. Because it's a path you've been on and can see, you have to, you know that you have the choice to refocus and figure out how to get back on your deserved path, not just your desired path, but your deserved path, because you deserve to be on your path to success. So as my sister Zelda comes in from Chicago with that, thanks for the reminder, because that's what we have to keep doing. We learn through repetition and reminder. So the thing is, when we have an opportunity to be reminded, it's, you all know I like to say it, choose your messengers carefully, because who's going to do the reminding? See, the reminding and the repetition, if it's coming from the wrong source or a negative source, then it builds a negative energy in you. And then that becomes what you spew out. So you got to be real careful, about choosing your messages carefully and recognize that you have to get on your deserved path. Now, I think rejection leads nicely into my insight about mental health. You see, I believe that suffering is connected to things like the mindset of rejection, which I look at actually as a self-esteem issue. I think what I've chosen to share today will allow for a focus on the solution as part of why the epidemic of mental health does exist. So spiritually, I'll start out with the end in mind by stating two Bible scriptures. First, Psalm 118, 22 through 23 says, "The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone." The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous to see. And then there's actually Matthew 21 and 42, which essentially says, Did you read Psalm 118, 22 through 23? But let me read what it says, what Matthew 21:42 actually says. Then Jesus asked them, didn't you ever read this in the scriptures? The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous to see. So now you can see why I say Matthew 21:42 just says, did you read Psalm 118, 22, and 23? And recognize that the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. You see, I believe that rejection is a loss of focus over what you control, that being how you feel about a certain situation. And this is why, as I've mentioned, no emotion is considered wrong or invalid. It's what we do in relation to those emotions that put us in the mood we've chosen. So let's look at three types of rejection. We're going to look at relationship, jobs, and team. And as a spoiler alert, heading for each of them, let's state that cliche that many have said at one time or another, right? You remember, have you ever said this? Oh, I don't care what other people think about me. Or if it's for me, I'll get it. Cliches, cliches. If it's for me, I'll get it. I don't think it would care what other people think about me. Keep those in your mind. You see, many of us say one of these as a way of showing ourselves tough and independent, etc. Yet, we tend to say them most often in a defensive and defiant way of protecting ourselves against bad news. We act like we can handle something that we often don't think that we can. But we figure if we say it out loud about a relationship, we believe we're sending a message to the atmosphere to let someone else know that they don't control us, when in fact, the emotional outburst signals that they do. And if it's about a job or a team, we're making our faith sound stronger than it is. While actually we're loading up for the pity party that attacks and justifies someone else's poor choice. You know how to say, oh, they didn't pick me because I'm the wrong color, the wrong education, the wrong gender, the wrong shape. See, that's the pity party. And as we say, this is why they didn't pick me, someone else justified, yeah, you're right. They didn't do it. It's because of your color. It's because of your sex. It's because of your shape. It's because of your education. See, that's the pity party. We justify the failure. But do you hear what the common denominator is in both of those? Let me read them again. We send a message in a relationship. We believe that we're sending a message to the atmosphere to let someone else know that they don't control us. And when it's about a team or a job, we are making our faith sound stronger than it is while loading up for the pity party that attacks and justifies someone else's poor choice. I ain't going to make you guess what the common denominator is. I'm going to go on and tell you. And that is someone else. Someone else is in both of those sentences. We let someone else know they don't control us. We attack and justify someone else's poor choice. Someone else. And and see, that's the key. Someone else is what you cannot control. I once facilitated a teamwork session for a group where each person had one of three table tents in front of them that required that they start each sentence with the words on their tent. Their tent said the tent gave them a choice to either say, in my opinion, from my point of view, or I believe. Thus, each person was right in how they saw a topic. And they took personal responsibility for their actions and their opinions. When you choose to be who you are, you choose to be rejected by someone else. Haven't I always committed to my acronym FOCUS? FOCUS, finding ourselves creates unlimited success. Focus on you and let others come into focus. And so here I also want you to focus on the fact that the people who are not supporting your next move are not necessarily trying to hurt you. They are not a part of your next move. So that makes the sentence: the people who are not supporting your next move are not a part of your next move. Let me go back and see what Daniel Lightman said here. Thank God. Thank you for making us the cornerstone despite of the rejections we may have encountered on our journey. Thank you for your faithful servant, Spody, and the sharing of his gift. That's the preacher. That's one of our prayer warriors, like I said. And he always got to call me Spody. He got just Spody Odie. And those who don't know, my birth name is Rispody. It's Ryspodii. Oh, so we got a little legacy fact in the middle of that. Okay, but that's the key. Making sure that we recognize that the cornerstone, that Jesus has been made the cornerstone, despite the rejection that we may encounter on our journey, because we encounter a lot of journey. And I chose not to read that what Daniel said until I finished reading what I wrote, to see how it jibed with it, because we don't put this stuff together and we don't make it up. But think about it. We're saying the same thing. In my opinion, from my point of view, I believe. See, I have been rejected by several things, several people, several times, but I have made the comeback. I choose to be who I am, so that I know I'm going to be rejected, but I know that I still have to get up, because this is my journey. These are the rejections that I encounter on my journey, based on what? Based on who I am. Who you are will determine what's going to happen in your journey. And the people who are not supporting your next move, they are not necessarily trying to hurt you. The enemy is not visibly in front of you all the time. That's the other thing about mental health. It's internal sometimes. So those people are not necessarily trying to hurt you, but they are not a part of your next move. So sometimes you have to move on and recognize that it's not a negative thing. See, a lot of people want to paint the picture of moving on, cutting people loose, this and that, as negative. It's not. It's a positive thing. It's because what you can do is sometimes you have to disconnect from someone, and maybe you'll reconnect at another spot. But in this spot, they are not the person that you need to be connected to. And you have to be willing to let that go. Not an easy thing to do, as we'll see as we go forward. Okay. So anyway, sometimes you have to see who you are. And this is my point. Sometimes you have to see who you are or who you are not in that relationship, that job, or life, and choose how to fit or eliminate your time in that situation. Now, you can either feel sad that someone else didn't want you, or you can recognize that this was just not the extended fit for you. And God said, okay, I'm going to grow you in another direction. That's what you're talking about there, Daniel. Despite the rejections, I'm going to grow you in another direction, combining both your self-esteem and your faith. So pause here and realize that I'm not blaming you in either case. I'm asking you to look at your situation through the eyes of your cliches. Remember those cliches? I don't care what anybody else says about me. And what was the other one? If it's for me, I'll get it. You know, those cliches, look at through those eyes, but let's kind of update those cliches and recognize that you do care. But you cannot control what someone else thinks of you. And you will get what is for you when you're the right fit, and no time sooner. You see, what did you say? As Thomas says, our greatest enemy is ourselves. But it's an enemy that can be defeated when the drive to overcome is greater than the fear of defeat. Yeah, you can't be afraid to be defeated, because a defeat is only a setback. One of my speaking mentors, Willie Jolly, said a setback is a setup for a comeback. And so the greatest enemy is ourselves. But you know what? And we all say that. That's another one of the cliches. I'm my own worst enemy. But I believe I said it last week. Or if I didn't say it in the broadcast, I said it in the meme. Also be your greatest fan. You are your worst enemy, but you should also be your greatest fan. You're your worst enemy because you know why you do everything that you do. So you can actually say, man, yeah, I know that I was wrong when I really think about it. Because you know what they say, there's three sides to every story, right? Mine, yours, and the truth. And you know all three sides. You know all three sides. So therefore, you got two out of the three. You got your side and the truth, and so you can make that decision to be your biggest fan. I messed this up, but I rebounded, because even in the Bible it says, "But God." Okay, so that's the key, is that you have to recognize you're your biggest enemy, but you cannot be afraid of defeat, because defeat is isn't that just what I just said about God will say, I am going to grow you in another direction. See, that's why you can't be afraid of being defeated, because you're not being defeated. It's not over. I'm going to grow you in another direction. And that's what God does for us. See, and then now, meanwhile, you might not make the team, but that doesn't eliminate you from the game. And there's again what you're talking about, Tom. You might not make the team, but that doesn't eliminate you from the game. Have you stopped and counted how many times you recovered? Okay, I'm back to you, Daniel. Have you stopped? See, have you stopped and counted how many times you've recovered? Okay, one of the things I believe is, and now we got some alliteration for you, rejection equals projection, as both can be defined with a disconnection that upon further inspection sends us in another direction. When God is the head of our lives, there are no bad directions, just adventurous detours. So do not be afraid to be defeated. Recognize that you will be rejected, and you will encounter rejections on your journey, but you will still get up and move forward. Recognize that you will constantly be reminded of your greatness and how important it is to you and the person behind you and the person who's watching you, because your life is not a sprint, it is a marathon. You should be in your life for the whole time, not just for the short time. And you just have to be patient, not just with yourself, but with everyone else around you, or as well as not with everyone else around you, but certainly with yourself, because you can be your own worst enemy. Be your biggest fan. Okay. So anyway, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. Man, you got to wrap it up. You got to do it. So what I'll do is I'll actually make this session about sharing 3 poems that, in my opinion, this is not my gift Friday where I will put these poems in the feed. I'm just going to share these poems with you from my point of view, that I believe connects. I think these 3 poems connect how rejection impacts. Rejection impacts mental health. Impacts mental health, as any feelings of depression, hopelessness, or suicide can be fed from how we react to our emotions. Okay, that's the key. Remember that we're talking about rejection impacting your mental health. Feelings of depression, hopelessness, or suicide can be fed into how we react to our emotions. So that goes again with what Thomas was saying about being our greatest enemy. Okay. Now, remember, I stated that I was not going to be clinical. So, in no way am I trivializing the treatable illness of these mental health issues, because depression, hopelessness, or suicide are mental health issues. Not feeling rejected does not eliminate feelings of depression, hopelessness, or suicide. Just because you don't feel rejected, that does not eliminate those mental health issues. But I am being so that's what I say. I'm not being clinical and saying, hey, you could just don't feel rejected and you're going to be okay. No, I'm saying that we adhere to the table tense that I mentioned and take responsibility for being our brother's keeper. In my opinion, the way I see it, from where I sit, that's what we have to do. Adhere to the table tense and take responsibility for being our brother's keepers. And that's what you were saying, Zelda, about reminding us. See yourself as the piece of the puzzle that can help someone find the help they need, or the puzzle piece who will admit that you need help. Reconnecting that to focus, finding ourselves creates unlimited success. Know that you can't help anyone until you help yourself, and you can't help anyone who doesn't want your help. So that's what you've got to recognize, that entrepreneurship is and meanwhile, entrepreneurship is a solution mindset. And one surprise connection solution mindset to both rejection and mental health is entrepreneurship. That's what I was supposed to say. I misread my notes. Okay, but one surprise solution, a surprise connection, a solution mindset to both rejection and mental health is entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is actually a solution mindset. You see, rejection is also a form of regret because it's disappointed with the outcome of a choice that we made. Adding to those cliches about not caring about how someone else feels, people say that they're fed up with their job, etc., and want to start over or run their own business. But let me tell you, warning, entrepreneurs cannot fear rejection nor entertain regret. What did you say? What did you say, Thomas? You cannot be fearful of defeat. Warning, entrepreneurship cannot fear rejection nor entertain rejection. Stephen Hart's coming out. I believe you just have to stay the course and continue to believe in the Almighty. Who support you along the way is God's blessing. Stay positive and believe in your journey at hand. Yes, that becomes part of the key. Thanks for piping in there, Stephen. All right. When I first began preparing for this glue, I hadn't considered myself as a person who journaled. Let me tell you that. But what I found is that my poetry is actually a sample of my journaling. And as an entrepreneur, this is what I'm saying about entrepreneur is the mindset solution. As an entrepreneur, I don't get to rewrite all of my poetry, which is also public record of where I stand on certain issues. And I'm not saying, and if you want to know how I feel about a subject, it's in writing in one of my 8 books. And I don't say that tongue in cheek or as a sales commercial, but I'm excited when I look at my books, I'm excited to see the evolution of some of my opinions, as well as the manifestation and confirmation of my beliefs. I don't regret anything that I've done because I don't regret who I've become and I continue to be. So the poems I'm going to share are each contained in my book, A Poet in Every Prophet, which is separated into chapters according to the year each poem was written between 2001 and 2011. And I'll actually go back and forth, starting with the last poem in the book, which was written in 2011. It's called On Our Journey, We Are Not Alone. And it comes with an outgoing introduction. In other words, I wrote the introduction after you read the poem, you read the introduction. And it says, but I'm going to read the introduction in front of the poem for you. There are times where we think we're the only one going through something or ask, why me? There are times where we become angry and decide to hate someone or something they do to us. There are times where someone does something favorable for us and we don't take the time to express our appreciation. And there are times where neither of these categories applies to what's happening in our lives. Yet there are always times. And in time, we come to understand and appreciate all we've experienced through this gift called life. Recognize that you deserve your gift. So this poem is, on our journey, we are not alone. And remember that you, as you're listening to it, think about what I said earlier. You have the choice to refocus and figure out how to get back on your deserved path. On our journey, we are not alone. We wave to family and loved ones and friends. No questions. They're different. And they can be all three. It depends. You see, our journey is dependent upon our vision. That vision does not always focus so clear. So there are times where we shuffle people from one category to the next. Times where we misunderstand intentions and rather than wave, we ward off, only later finding our blessing was never disguised. It was merely waiting for our heart to open up, to recognize that our sight does not make us wise. Our journey at times can seem like an outpouring of calculated associations that seek to suck at our lives and weaken our steps. Oh, if only we could fast forward and see the need to give thanks at the outpouring, for those of love will easily provide the stronger current. Relax your spirit and enjoy your journey. Understand the rainbow in the ups and downs. Know that you are immersed in your finest hours. You see, on our journey, we are not alone. If only we would dare to smell our flowers. Now, the second poem was actually the first one written in 2002. It's called When Do We Recognize Who? And with this one, I want you to think about that pity party that we skipped. When you chose to be who you are, when you choose to be you are, you choose to be rejected by someone else. Remember where we said they, didn't choose me because I was the wrong size, the wrong color, the wrong education. And this one comes with an introduction at the beginning. It says, I wrote this in 2002, and it looks like this was a pretty militant and introspective year for me, with a heavy focus on being Black in America, as well as being human in America. So here, the choices in that quote right there. When you listen to when do we recognize who? The account reps for billboards in the hood are from hood ancestry. Maybe the creative artist at the ad agency who provided advice and suggested the images is too. And it's likely that the workers who put up the billboard and those who continue to support the product look very much like me and you. Yet when do we recognize who? Who wears the products for kids to see, buys the products for kids to wear, litters in our neighborhood and decides to piss in the stairs? Who plays the role of the exploited or stereotyped, puts drugs in our arms, nose, and spirit? Who's in the gang that rivals the wrong cause I didn't recognize his colors? Or is it that we too don't recognize or respect our color? Like we say nobody else does. And cause nobody else does, we show them a thing or two by being what they say we are and who. Think about it. Doesn't it seem like that's what we do? Yet I still wonder, when do we recognize who? See, I love me some me. I even like me. And my mother dressed and clothed me, told me what to do, where to go, how to act, when, and why, up to a certain point. Once she reached that point, it became my choice to create the image standing before you today. Now, I'm not finished with my creation, but I'm the billboard of a proud ancestry. I'm the only man that can keep me down. Don't get me wrong. I know many will try. In fact, that line forms to the right. Those who have tried stand frustrated to the left. And if you think I'll ever give up, my advice, don't hold your breath. No, I won't give up rebuilding our pride. I'll keep believing that the dream will one day come true. But it'll only happen when we stop blaming other people and decide to recognize who. And this final poem was written in 2006. It's called I May Make This Look Easy. Here's the intro to that chapter. Wisdom being in retrospect, I can see that this year prepared me for next year. This year contains the most personal relationship poems in this book. Surely it was that exercising of my emotions that I would need to be in control of them the following year. Perhaps it was this better understanding of love that would help me deal with the greatest loss of love in my horizon. My mother would get sick in November 2006 during Thanksgiving time, remain in and out of hospitals, and begin her exit message to her earthly family. I see this poem as a reminder that no emotion is wrong, as I've said to you earlier, or even as Matthew 12 and 42, 24, 21 and 20, 42 says, did you read Psalm 118:22? The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes for us to see. This is called, I May Make This Look Easy. Well, actually, it is. By the way, and let me tell you, this is about a breakup in a relationship. I may make this look easy. Well, actually, it is. See, I get the chance to unjumble my emotions and rearrange them to smooth verse. You sought comparison to my past women so much, I had to ask you where they were while searching for questions to ask about your ex-men, not the superheroes, that I really had no interest in. When I spoke in commas and periods, you turned them into question mark challenges. When I told you how I felt, you corrected me. In fact, this may sound like I'm pointing the finger. Well, actually, I am. Yet not at you, but at God. For he is the source of ideas. And now I do get it. This commercial break does not really need to be repeated over and over. For that which must be measured in quantity cannot supplant quality. So my phone calls will remain infrequent expressions of how I value our friendship. FUN, friends until the end. And if that's how it must really be, how will we control what we can't see? Will the beauty of our sweat be questioned as retroactive tears? Must the passion of 1 month overflow the comfort of 10 years? Now, there I go with the question marks, where commas and periods will do. See, it's not easy. It's just how I feel. I want you all to remember, as you go back and re-listen and connect those 3 poems, there is no easy fix for the choice to let rejection linger and feed depression. And what I can say clinically is psychological, in reassuring you that no emotion is invalid. No one should tell you that you should not have feelings of sadness, anger, pain, loneliness, abandonment, etc. The only hope should be that you know that these feelings for what you that you meet these feelings for what you recognize them to be. They are diversions from the path you prefer to stay on. And it's because it's a path that you've been on and can see, you have the choice to refocus and figure out how to get back on your deserved path. You see, God's love really does undo everything, including mental health issues, which are a loud reminder that we don't need to hump as much as we need to keep it together. So thanks for keeping it together with me each Glue Wednesday. But know that I will continue to support getting your vaccination as well as whether or not you do, because I still ask that you wear the mask. Thank you and goodness to you. Let me go in there and give my shout out to Renee because she had a comment. Okay, speaking truth as always. Glad you're healing well from your replacement knee. That's right, that's my upgraded knee. And again, everybody, again, look at the comments in the thread and know that these were not pre-assigned comments. We are so much more, we have so many more things in common than we have against one another, but we have to remember to look for the commonalities. And then once we find them, we have to share them and enjoy them. point, enjoy them, and share them. So I thank you, Renee. Erase fear, and in fact, my thing is I say embrace fear, but we erase fear by rewording it, reframing it. And my fear is FEAR. Faith eventually attracts resources. So yeah, we erase that fear, that afraidness, and recognize that faith eventually attracts resources. Once you show that you believe in what you're going to do, then people will jump up to support you. So that's how you can erase fear, by reframing it and making it work for you instead of against you, and being the bionic king. I'm the bionic king, but thank God we all know the omnipotent king. And those who don't see how that's connected, because sometimes you gotta let people in on a joke. Bionic, bi is two, okay, and omnipotent is one. Bam. So see, that's the way your mind has to think. That's the way my mind thinks. It's trying to just stay creative, y'all. That's really is one of the other keys. Stay creative is part of the secret to staying positive. So thanks again for joining me on Glue Wednesday. If you ever have any questions, any topics you want me to talk about and work into, please, feel free to let me know that. You can always email me and let me know that. But I tend to go with what God puts on my shoulders, and I usually don't pick my topics till Tuesday evening and my Wednesday morning. So that it's totally fresh. All right. But again, if you ever got a topic you want me to speak about, just let me know. Y'all stay safe and over and out. Ciao.